Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Miami Beach to crack down on homeless residents sleeping outside in August. At a news conference Monday, Miami Beach Mayor Stephen Miner introduced Operation Summer Relief, a month-long homelessness initiative that drew criticism from some advocates who argue city and state laws are unfairly criminalizing unhoused people. Officials said Miami Beach's initiative aims to keep individuals from living on public property during the month of August, a period when average temperatures reach their highest. To do so, the city is partnering with homeless outreach services, shelters, health care providers, and Miami Beach Police. Miner stressed compassion and empathy in the city's approach to homelessness, which includes providing social services such as shelter placement, family reunification, and identification assistance. But he also made clear that the city is taking a tough-on-crime approach, driven by a concern for public safety. "Do not mistake our compassion for weakness," Miner said. The initiative arrives as controversial legislation around homelessness takes root at the city, state, and national levels, most recently marked by a U.S. Supreme Court ruling allowing cities to arrest the homeless for sleeping in public. Miami Beach passed a ban on public sleeping in October, allowing for arrests to be made without warning if the individual declined shelter placement. This carries a penalty of up to 60 days in jail and a $500 fine. Arrests have increased as enforcement of the ban has intensified in recent months. A similar law signed by Governor Ron DeSantis will go into effect statewide in October this year. This law prohibits cities and counties across Florida from allowing people to sleep in public. Critics of the policies argue they unnecessarily criminalize homelessness, making it more difficult for these individuals to obtain permanent housing. Miami Beach is home to approximately 154 unsheltered homeless people, according to the most recent Miami-Dade County Homeless Trust census. But Miami Beach only manages 86 shelter beds, which are located outside the city in multiple facilities, such as Camilla's House and Lotus House. While the city hosts the only walk-in center for the homeless in the county, no shelters are located within Miami Beach itself. David Peary, the executive director of the Miami Coalition to Advance Racial Equity, said not all of these 86 beds are regularly available either. Shelter placement, meanwhile, remains a complicated solution. Not all homeless individuals are interested in shelter. Shelters often strip people of their last remaining possessions, which can damage their sense of autonomy, Peary said. For others, shelters can leave them vulnerable to theft. Shirley Armstrong, who lives on the streets of Miami Beach, said she had her birth certificate and social security card stolen in a shelter in the Bronx, New York. "You lose everything," she said on Monday. The 68-year-old has been homeless on and off since 1990 and arrived in Florida from New York in 2021. She said she spent some time sheltered by Miami's Salvation Army but left in May, after her roommate filed a grievance report. Now, Armstrong sleeps wherever she can. She applied for food stamps at the library last week, she said, but was told she'd have to wait a month. Because not all homeless people accept shelter, the city always has ample beds, Miner said. Additionally, Miami Beach works to provide other services to support the function of shelters as a transitional place using a care coordination model, according to Director of Housing and Community Services Alba Tarr. "It is not meant to be long-standing. So we're constantly working with clients to get them to that next chapter in their journey," Tarr said. Brian Windhorst hints that Bam Adebayo could get benched next in Team USA's matchup versus South Sudan. In the aftermath of Team USA's victory in its opening game of the 2024 Paris Olympics, some of the talk was focused on the fact that Jason Tatum did not get into the game. Now, leading up to their second contest of the competition on Wednesday, ESPN insider Brian Windhorst is speculating that Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat may be the latest NBA star who doesn't get some playing time. when they play South Sudan on Wednesday, Windhorst said on The Pat McAfee Show. South Sudan's got a bunch of athletic wing players. Tatum's gonna be out there. They're gonna be switching all those screens because he's gotta play the perimeter. There may be a guy like Bam Adebayo that gets benched in that game. South Sudan's roster may provide the exact opposite circumstance presented by their first opponent, Serbia, which was made up primarily of big men and guards, not wings. That caused U.S. head coach Steve Kerr to use a rotation that did not include a spot for Tatum, who was an All-NBA player for the champion Boston Celtics this past season and recently signed the largest contract in league history. Though perhaps controversial, not using Tatum ultimately proved to be the right call as the United States rolled to an impressive 110-84 victory on Sunday. Team USA used 10 players in the game, all of whom played more than 10 minutes each. Adebayo posted 4 points on 2-for-6 shooting from the field, with 2 rebounds and 2 assists in his 20 minutes off the bench. Joel Embiid started at center ahead of Adebayo and Anthony Davis, but was ineffective, with just 4 points and 2 rebounds in 11 minutes. Davis scored 7 points and grabbed 8 rebounds, playing 19 minutes. Kevin Durant had a spectacular game coming off the bench, making his first 8 shots and winding up with 23 points. LeBron James contributed 21 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. The game against South Sudan should be intriguing after Team USA escaped with a 1-point win in their exhibition matchup leading up to the Olympics. Adebayo scored 4 points with 2 rebounds, playing 16 minutes in that game. The United States then plays its final game of the group stage on Saturday against Puerto Rico as it pursues its 5th consecutive Olympic gold medal. Blazers not interested in former Miami Heat All-Star in Jerami Grant trade, report. One of the obstacles in the Miami Heat's pursuit of Portland Trail Blazers star Jerami Grant is their reluctance to give up their 2 first-round picks. The difference could be greater than that, as the Athletic's Jovan Buha reported that the Trail Blazers also don't want the salary cap on Grant's potential trade. "I heard Portland doesn't want it because they have a million guards anyway," Buha said on his Buha's Block podcast on July 26. "So it doesn't really make sense to them." Buha added that the Miami Heat have been trading the former All-Star point guard since he opted out. According to Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report, the Blazers' asking price for Grant is the Miami Heat's 2029 and 2031 first-round draft picks. Anthony Irwin of the LA Daily reported that the Miami Heat were unwilling to pay that price. While draft pick compensation and the addition of Russell remain the sticking point in negotiations between the Miami Heat and Blazers. "I don't see that big guy out there in free agency," the Miami Heat reporter said on his Buha's Block podcast on July 16. "It'll probably have to be a player that they go out there and get in a trade, and maybe they'll do one of those trade for one of those wingers and they can get a big man." One of the trade ideas presented by Buha was to expand the Grant trade talks. If they go and get a Jerami Grant, they could also get a Robert Williams in that trade? "To get a big guy," Buha said. "My understanding is that again it's on their to-do list, to get a big guy, but they're also looking at these wings that can space the floor and can also defend multiple positions, and it looks like that one. It's been the biggest emphasis for them the last few weeks, but now, if that's 1A, that's 1B. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Jerami Grant? Leave your opinion in the comments.